Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The big news with respect to the Saints on Monday, of course, was that Jameis has re-signed with New Orleans. 2 years, $28 million contract. I think this was all things considered, a best case scenario for New Orleans with Winston. Yes, I was very, very pro Deshaun Watson. We've been through it. Transcendent talent in his prime, truly unique opportunity because great quarterbacks at 26 years old don't hit the market. It was a confluence of a lot of circumstances, some his own doing, some outwardly, that led it to where Deshaun Watson was available at 26 years old. He was not indicted. Teams were making their pitch. Saints were quarterback needy. They made their run at him. I would have loved it if they would have landed him. They didn't, so you got to move on. Had Deshaun Watson never been available, we've talked about it for months, my top choice was not draft, was not Baker Mayfield, was not Jimmy Garoppolo. It was Jameis Winston. I thought Jameis was going to cost the Saints much more, though, than it did. And it might have, but for everything sort of developing the way that it did here in free agency. Meaning, when Atlanta made their push for Matt Ryan, when Atlanta made their push for Deshaun Watson and restructured Matt Ryan, it basically severed that tie permanently. So Atlanta had to move on. So they trade Matt Ryan to the Colts. And Atlanta signs Marcus Mariota, and Jameis, according to some reports, was going to hop a flight to Indy to go visit the Colts. And when they did the deal, the Colts did the deal for Matt Ryan, that was off the table. So basically what happened here is Jameis Winston's market dried up on him. He didn't really have any options. If the Saints had to get into a bidding war with the Colts or another team, then it likely would have cost them much more than 2 years, $28 million with $21 million guaranteed. But the market dried up on him. Pittsburgh signs Trubisky. Miami signs Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, the guys who are out in the cold, Denver trades for Russ. The guys who are out in the cold right now are Jimmy Garoppolo, who's not going to be back in San Francisco, and Baker Mayfield, who's not going to be back in Cleveland. So it's really fascinating to see what's going to happen with them. But essentially, because there wasn't really a market for Jameis any longer, the Saints were able to get him at a much better deal than I had anticipated. I think a lot of others probably thought too. Look, when you look at the quarterback salaries, and that may sound kind of ridiculous, but we've gone through this. When you look at current quarterback contracts, Aaron Rodgers, his new deal pays him $50 million a year. I'm looking at the annual salary. Rodgers is getting $50. Deshaun Watson's getting $46. Mahomes $45. Allen $43. Stafford $40. Dak's getting $40. Russ is getting $35, same as Cousins. Goff's at $33. Wentz is $32. Point being, y'all, Matt Ryan now's at $30. Tannehill $29. And so you look at this list, there's not a drop-off until you get to Tom Brady. Well, Derek Carr and Tom Brady, because he's taking a team-friendly deal, are making $25, and then massive drop-off. Fitzpatrick's at $10 million. Taysom Hill's at $10 million. Mariota's at $9,375. Trevor Lawrence is a rookie deals at 9-1. So in that gap is where you were going to find Jameis. And I thought it was going to be closer to 20. It was going to cost you $20 million. I thought they'd do a 5-year, $100 million a year deal. 20 per year, not as much guaranteed, incentive laden, and all that sort of stuff. But because the market dried up on him, it basically bought the Saints more time. And now, because he got a 2-year deal, you can look at this and say, okay, let's say Jameis goes and has an amazing 2022. Let's say he throws for 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns and 10 picks, and the Saints make it to the playoffs, and you go, man, this is the guy we thought he was going to be. Extend him. Crumple up this deal and sign him to a new deal next offseason if he plays a full 17 weeks and you like what you see. Don't go through another year and let him hit free agency just waiting to see. Flip side of it is, if he stinks this year, draft a quarterback next year. Take your assets, package a deal, move up in next year's draft, and take a quarterback that you're bullish on. I mean, this was a best case scenario. I mean, if the Saints had to put together a 4 or 5 year deal for Jameis and commit to him, they were taking, in some respects, a little bit of a blind leap. Not totally, because he's been in the building for the past 2 years. You saw him start 7 games, super coachable, all the things that we've talked about, but you still don't know, how's he going to come back off the torn ACL? How would he be over 17 weeks? Is he really ready to be a championship caliber quarterback instead of just a starting quarterback? Can he win championships instead of just winning games? Now you don't have to answer that question today. You can wait, get another year's worth of evidence before you have to make that decision. It's unfortunate for Jameis because of the injury and because the market dried up the way it did on him, but it certainly benefits the Saints. As far as Jameis and where he is now, Schefter tweeted earlier today on Tuesday. Saints quarterback Jameis Winston, who tore his ACL on Halloween and reached an agreement yesterday on a 2-year deal with New Orleans, is expected to be ready for training camp this summer. Quote, if everything continues to go smoothly with his rehab, end quote, per league source. So Schefter's reporting Jameis is expected to be ready to roll this summer. Remember, I mean, by comparison, think about Burrow. Now, Burrow's injury came last year at the end of the season, but it really wasn't, I mean, even through the preseason until week 1, even Burrow said it wasn't until their open date this year that he really felt whole again. So the fact that right now you're looking at an injury from Jameis that happened on Halloween, and the fact that they really think he's going to be ready to roll for the start of camp this summer, that's a major plus. Because you are now going through, you're going through a scenario where you have a new coaching staff, a lot of roster turnover, as we well understand, and the fact that you're going to have him there healthy for camp, likely new receivers, at least one new starter on the offensive line. Yeah, Mike Thomas back in the building, absolutely. You want Jameis there for the start of camp, and it looks like he will be, according to Schefter. Jameis tweeted it out earlier today as well. Who dat, hashtag dream forever was the tweet that he put out. Last week the big question was, would there be animosity or anything like that from Jameis, resentment on Jameis because of the Saints' pursuit of Deshaun Watson? The point I made then is the point I'll reiterate now. It's a business. Every single player at some point is expendable. If a team can get better, you have to pursue that opportunity to get better. But in the end, this is still a team that's committing nearly $30 million to Jameis and has committed to him the past 2 years as well. So he's no hard feelings there from Jameis, obviously. It's one of the things that I'm very bullish on and have been for 2 years. Y'all, you know this. I was one of the first people, probably the first one you heard, when Tampa said they weren't re-signing him, who stood up and said Saints need to do that deal. And a lot of y'all mocked me. And you said, and all you had to say was crab legs and interceptions. That's all y'all had to say. But it's pretty clear 2 years later, that was a sound decision to bring him here. Now can they win with him? And that's the one thing I don't know. I am confident in saying this. With Jameis Winston, the Saints are a playoff team. I believe that. Look, they were 9-8 this year when he only played 7 games. In playing 4 different quarterbacks, this team was 9-8. And they were a breath away. They were a Rams collapse in week 18 away from making the playoffs. So with Jameis Winston, I think they're a playoff team. They will win games. There's no doubt in my mind. The Saints will win games. They could be a playoff team. What I don't know is if they can win championships. I don't know that. But I'm interested to see. What I am confident in saying right now is I would prefer Jameis Winston over any quarterback in this draft. And maybe in hindsight, we'll look back and you'll see Kenny Pickett go on to win 4 Super Bowls, or Matt Corral goes on to be, perennial MVP and win a couple of Super Bowls. I don't know. Maybe we'll look back in hindsight and say that. But given the information that we have today, I would take Jameis Winston over anybody in this draft. And what we have seen in the NFL is that if you want to be a perennial contender that can win Super Bowls, you have to be elite at quarterback. However, there are one-offs and have been over the last 15 years where average quarterbacks, like good NFL quarterbacks, have gotten teams into the Super Bowl. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Jimmy Garoppolo got the Niners to the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan and Cam Newton each went to a Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick and Joe Flacco played each other in a Super Bowl a decade ago. Rex Grossman brought the Bears to a Super Bowl in 2006. Jared Goff just a few years ago. I mean, you get into the postseason, you can get hot and make a run. Might even win it. But can you be a perennial championship contender? You have to be elite at that position. We're going to find out if Jameis is. But I'm excited to see it. Glad to have him back in the league. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.